Coming up next, On the Spot, Minority is here from the mystical land of Canada to demo their inaugural title, Papo and Yo. We also take a look at a little-known game called Resistance 3, and then prepare for the baconing. Moving on from demos, we bring you a multiplayer preview of Driver San Francisco, get the latest digital downloads, learn about the beta for Call of Duty's new Elite website, and teach you the basics of killing giant bugs in EDF Insect Armageddon. We're live and on the spot.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to On the Spot for Thursday, July 14th. I'm your host, Chris Waters, back from worldly travels down to EA, out to New England, and back here to take a look at a game that's got a lot of people here in the GameSpot offices excited. We've got trivia stacked up here. You can try to take a peek at the weird bacon-related items I'll be giving away later on the show. But first, let me introduce my guest. It's Vander Cavallero, the creative director for Papo and Yo. Vander, welcome to the stage. We're very excited to have you here from, as the intro said, exotic Canada. You're here from Minority, and you guys are working on a game called Papo and Yo. Now, you had a big showing at E3. You won GameSpot's Best Downloadable Game and Best Adventure Game of the show. You guys kind of blew up at E3. How was that for you?
We knew we had something good in our hands, but we didn't expect it was going to explode like that. So we're like all delighted. We're really happy. This is our first game, and as an indie, I'm an indie that comes from AAA games, from big companies. I was at it for 8 years, and coming down and trying out your first idea and see that it works out is really delightful.
Very cool. Now, for those of you who didn't get a look at it during E3, we have a live demo that's going to be commencing shortly. But Vander, for people who maybe aren't familiar with Papo and Yo, give us a quick overview of what this game's all about.
So Papo Yo is a game that is inspired in my childhood with my father. My father was a good man, but he was an evil man too. He suffered from addiction to alcohol, drugs, and all the stuff. So I have a really hard childhood. Mm-hmm. And I always want to tell my story, but I always want to tell the good part of the story, the thing that made me the man I am today and the proud father that I am. So I want to transfer that to kids, and I couldn't do that in a big corporation. And they wouldn't make a game like this. So I decided to go out and find the metaphor for the game. And the metaphor for the game is the story about a monster who's your best friend, who's a pink monster. He's really nice to you, but he's addicted to frogs. So when he eats frogs, he goes crazy and he wants to kill everyone that moves, including yourself.
Okay, so is the game trying to keep him away from frogs, or managing his frog addiction, or how does it, I guess, tell us what's going on here? You're playing as a little boy. How is this playing out right now?
So at this point, suddenly Kiko discovered Lula. Lula, his little robot, and then Lula's climbing away, and right now you're gonna learn how to interact with Lula. So the important thing about Lula is Lula makes the monster afraid. So that's how you protect yourself from the monster.
Oh.
And that's how you stop the monster from going. So let's see, there's a frog in the corner. The monster is running to eat the frog. You go in front, you throw Lula in front, and the monster get afraid, and he don't eat the frog.
Oh, okay, so Lula helps you manage the more stronger monster.
Yes.
Okay, and so you've got two characters that you are sort of interacting with to help you get through this world, and already we can see there's sort of some, aside from the fact that you're interacting with a monster and a little robot, a lot of touches of the fantastical.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is bring this magical world. I want to bring the world of the favelas in South America to people. I want to bring them to a place they have never been. If you have been to the favelas in South America, it's been shooting minorities.
Yeah, I think I've toured the favelas, but it was from a first-person point of view, and there was a gun in my hand.
Exactly, yeah. And that's not the reality. There's many people, a million people who live in the favelas. They're coming into there. So what I want to bring is this different point of view of favela that is magical. So suddenly you see like old puzzles in the game, they're drawn. So every time a kid draws something in the wall, he creates a puzzle.
Oh, neat.
So suddenly, for example, like a kid draw a rope and suddenly hot cosh is coming up, and that's how you solve the puzzle.
Oh, that's very cool. I imagine, in the favelas, in such a crowded place, you get a lot of drawings, a lot of graffiti, a lot of art on the walls. And so you're sort of integrating that into the gameplay here.
Yes.
Excellent. And now, all right, so Lula obviously does not need magical levitating hopscotch blocks, but
No, but Lula represents in the game. Many people ask me, what does Lula represent in the game? Because it's a symbolic game. What Lula represents is in my childhood, my love for games and technology is what kept me alive. When I was a kid, I was going through this hardship, and then the thing that kept me alive was technology and games. So suddenly, that's the reason Lula makes the monster afraid.
now was there a particular robot, or was it a robot? You know, can you give us an example of what kind of games and technology Little Vander latched on, like, really enjoyed?
First, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I love Nintendo, but we didn't use the Nintendo look for the robot. But I love my Nintendo, and I love building remote control cars and everything that flies.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. Wow.
Okay, so now we see these little cardboard boxes. These have become the houses on the hillside, and you're sort of moving them around.
Yeah. So the idea there is that there was a kid who like the way that I designed this puzzle. It was I always wanted to design the game based coming out from the child's point of view. So I just created a level that I created a cliff. You're on this side, you have to get to the other side. And I said to myself, okay, what will a kid do in this other than flying? And then I said, oh, what about if there's some cardboard boxes and we paint them and then control the houses on the other side? And then I was talking to my lead programmer and he said, oh, wow, it's a crazy idea, let's try it. And it came out and it's there.
And then boom, it's right there. And so what's interesting to me is how you're using this childlike play aspect and then that becomes a very powerful puzzle solving tool, sort of, taking, an idle child's game of hopscotch, for example, and then blowing that up to the thing that really helps you surmount an obstacle or get past. Now, we were talking earlier, and you said you have a 2.5-year-old yourself.
Yeah.
Do you get any inspiration from him playing around, or?
Yeah, but every time I'm learning how to play a game being with him, and it's incredible how a kid can have fun with a box. For example, you see the hint system. It's a box. I remember my kid. He loved putting boxes in his head.
Oh yeah.
And just running around the home, hitting himself against walls. And I was like, why? I don't understand, but it was fun. So then, you see the hint system. It's a box that you put in your head.
Okay. And now we're meeting for the first time the monster.
Yeah.
And the monster's name is?
Monster.
Monster. That's pretty straightforward. I like that. Now, okay, so here's the hint system. Let's take a look at this real quick.
Boom, he put a box in his head. And now, if you do next, he scroll the box.
Oh yeah, you just sort of turn it around on his head.
And then he can walk with the box and hit walls.
And there's Lula sort of intimidating the monster right there?
Exactly. So now when he grabs Lula, then the monster can go on his own.
The monster can kind of be released from the spell.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. Remember Dumbo, like when the elephants are afraid of the little mice. It's a metaphor.
There you go. So you're working a lot with metaphor here, and that even, how is it? I guess that's an interesting challenge because a lot of games, it's not necessarily fueled by that. It's fueled by I want to have this excitement or this other kind of experience. You're sort of fueled by an emotional metaphor, emotional experience. How does that a different challenge for you? Based on compared to games you've worked on before.
It's a lot more meaningful. So when you go home, you can actually sleep well.
Must be a great feeling.
Yes, because it's completely different. Say, okay, let's figure out a system to customize your gun to kill people, and then you go back home and say, what am I doing?
Wait a minute, who's going to be playing that?
Exactly.
Now this game, the monster is a big sort of pink rhinoceros-looking fella, but he does get scary. I mean, this is not necessarily a game you would play with a young child, or are you trying to make it appeal to all age ranges?
I want to appeal to all ages. For example, if you think of Pixar and you see Finding Nemo, remember 5 minutes in the movie, you lose your mother and your brothers. 10 minutes into the movie, you're lost. They tell really hard stories, and I think right now what I want to do is tell really meaningful stories. Because right now I remember when I was playing Mario, it was a lot of fun, but Mario's morality is from the 50s. It's you're good or you're bad. And that doesn't actually help you as growing up. So what I want to do is create a game where a kid could play it and say, oh, Monster is good, he's nice. but at the same time, he's addicted for frogs. He's bad. And then you have to learn how to cope with this gray zone that something could become good and bad.
How to deal with that ambiguity and that duality in your life.
Exactly.
All right, so now the demo is continuing, and we've got the monster inside of the monster got corralled by some coconuts. Catch us up
So
on
what
what's
just
going on.
happened there,
Yeah.
it is that you see that platform, that line around it, goes down and opens the bridge.
Okay, so that area he was in sort of sunk down. It was like almost like a switch.
Yes, it was like a switch, but if the monster is not on top of the switch, the platform goes back. So what you have to do is trap the monster in that switch. So you bring the monster with food, you place him there, the monster goes there, the platforms are going down, and then you throw the robot. And then the monster is afraid, so he stays down there.
Okay, to keep him in there. Yeah. That is a colorful fish. I like that.
And right now what is happening is in this puzzle, you have to throw the frogs into the well. So there are huge frogs.
Oh, there's that little froggy. It looks like those little jungle frogs you see. They're maybe a little poisonous.
So it was really funny. Like we have a great experience with this mechanic, and we have people that just laugh and laugh when they pick up the frog and see this big frog.
So are you looking at like maybe an extra little plush toy you can purchase from PlayStation.com or something here?
But when you go indie, you're not thinking about the money.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, you're thinking about doing something meaningful, something great. If you were thinking about the money, you'll be working for a big corporation. So right now, oops, he missed.
Oh, almost. Oh, you get it. Oh. Now, Vander, we have a couple questions coming in from the chat room. Folks asking about ways that the gameplay experience might change from here. For example, do you ever play as the monster or play as Lula or play cooperatively? Or what can people expect sort of over the course of the game?
So over the course of the game, what you're gonna discover is a system that we have in place is working, but we haven't shown at E3 because we have limited time. So the main the variations of the game is gonna come at the moment that you're gonna have to stop the monster from eating frogs and the stress that brings to you. And there's a lot of challenge that come about on figuring, okay, what do I do with the frog? Do I take the frog and splash it? Do I take the frog and and use it to bring the monster to another place?
Okay, because now we are about to see what happens when monster gets a hold of the frog. Oh wow, that is no joke.
And it's to be continued. So we didn't want to show that mechanic at E3, but we have it playing, and it's really, we focus tested, and we have a 7-year-old kid playing with it. And when the monster turned evil, he was like, you could feel the emotion, and it was really, really powerful.
Well, Vander, thank you so much for coming by with Papo Yo. And for folks who are interested in getting their hands on it, do you know when it's going to be coming out? What platforms you guys are going to be?
It's going to be coming out early next year.
Okay.
PSN exclusive.
Fantastic. Vander, thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank
It's been
you
a
very
pleasure
much.
having you. Good luck in the development process as that continues. And we'll be looking forward to seeing more. Maybe what happens once Monster consumes those frogs and gets kind of scary like you just did there. Up next, folks, we've got a look at, maybe what your first tour of the favelas was, Call of Duty. Now we have Call of Duty Elite is a new service they're announcing. Maybe you've heard about it, read about it on GameSpot. Well, Ryan McDonald got to sit down and take a guided tour of Call of Duty Elite, and now you're going to get to take it with him. Let's take a look.
What's up, everybody? Ryan McDonald here, and I'm on set, and I'm joined by Jason Addis. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. You came by, and for the folks at home that don't know, you are a producer working on Elite for Activision. Is that right?
That's right.
And now you have brought us. Well, today, technically, today is the day that people are going to get their hands on the beta if they want to go and check this thing out, right?
Is today the 14th?
Today is the 14th.
Then today is the day.
Excellent. So for the folks at home that have been dying to get their hands on this thing, why don't you tell people a little bit about what Elite's all about and what you're going to show us today?
Sure. So I'll walk you through the key pillars of Call of Duty Elite.
Okay.
So as you know, we have quite a community of people playing Call of Duty.
Few people playing that game.
About 30 million person community, and of that 30 million, 20 million people, I believe, are actively engaged in multiplayer every single month. So that's
I'm one
a
of those
lot
people.
Yes.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
So we've created a suite of services for Call of Duty that will help to engage this community, really give something back to them, take them deeper into the experience. So Call of Duty Elite is founded on a few key pillars that I'm going to walk you through, and especially as we go through a little demo here. It's career. This is you and your career in Call of Duty. From Black Ops forward, you'll be able to have access to all of your stats, all the stuff that we've had in order to build out, the back end of Call of Duty. You now have access to all of these stats.
Awesome.
So as a career player, it's like your back of baseball card. Connect, you have the ability to connect with other people with similar affinities to you playing Call of Duty and find other people to play with. Compete, this is what's going on every single day and night. This is what else you can do on Call of Duty in the compete section. And improve, we're gonna help you get better. So I'm gonna actually walk you through a day in the life of Chris Wilson, producer at the Beachhead Studio, through the eyes of Call of Duty Elite. You are welcome, Chris Wilson. Very welcome. All right, so Chris has played 111 hours of multiplayer. Taking a look at his stats, we can see he's played 93 of those hours. The majority, he likes team deathmatch. He's a team deathmatch type of player. His kill-death ratio is 0.89, so he's not too bad. If we scroll down a little bit to recent matches, he has access to all of his recent matches, so he could actually dig in and really do some intel on the gameplay. So let's actually drill down into Nuketown real quick in his most recent match. We have access to heat maps as well. Why is this important? Well, when you play the game and you get really deep into the game, the heat maps here allow you to see within the game where your trouble spots are, where you're doing really well. Another reason why this is important is Elite is going to be where you are. Our hope is that you can access Call of Duty Elite not only on the web, but also on your iPhone, your iPad, your Android, pretty much where you're going to be, we want to be able to reach you. You do some of this intel, you can actually change your loadout right there on your iPhone.
Crazy awesome.
And with one press of the button, you can push that loadout right to the game. You get home, you spend less time doing all that intel and research, more time in the game and playing.
That's
so
awesome.
that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
But let's actually move on to improve. So like I mentioned before, the global leaderboards, can be pretty punishing sometimes. There are some great players out there. One of the other key tenets of Call of Duty Elite is we want to help people improve their game. So let's say you were taking a look at your career, at your recent matches, and you noticed that you were just getting wrecked on one of the matches, and you want to do a little more research about some of the weapons.
I've been having some trouble on Silo.
All right, Silo. So we can go down and scroll down just in the maps in Silo. So improve is very much like, imagine that you have an online strategy guide meets a personal trainer online. So you have access to all the maps. You can dive deep into any one of the maps. You can learn the maps a little more. You can go through the maps for every different game type as well. And that can really help you learn the map, because as you know, a lot of the battle sometimes is just learning the map, knowing where you can be, figuring out your routes. You can do all that on the maps. But then, another big part of it is the weapons that you use, and learning a lot more about the weapons. So let's scroll down, let's take a look at the M16. Okay. We're gonna have every single weapon, every single map, you name it, we're gonna have information about everything online. So we can take a look at the M16, we can get a brief overview about the M16, we can get some tips about the M16, is it better for larger maps, indoor, we can figure out a little more about the weapon, and we can see how every single attachment actually affects the weapon's performance. Let's actually go into Connect.
Okay.
So this is where you're actually gonna find like-minded players. So on Connect, you're able to, this is part of the social networking for Call of Duty. You can actually join groups and find like-minded players, people of similar affinities to you, really easily. So let's actually go to the landing page on Connect really quick. And we can take a look at all the various groups that I've joined. It's really easy to create a group. So let's move on to our last pillar, to compete.
I like competing.
All right. So this is where you find what's going on 24/7, 365 days a year. We have all kinds of things running through the program guide. We'll have events and we'll have operations. Now events are basically participation based. So we'll have all kinds of different things from, for example, we have the screenshot tool in game. So we might put out an event that's like, get a screenshot based on the following theme. And a bunch of people will upload screenshots and we'll have a jury vote, and people will have a chance to win both virtual as well as real world prizes. And we also have operations. Now those are more skill based and stat based, sort of, they're metagames based on the stats within the game. So not only are you playing a multiplayer match, but you're sort of you're heightening your own intensity within that multiplayer. Because if you have a chance, if, for example, the operation that you're involved in for domination is for captures,
Right.
you're going to be much more intent about trying to get as many captures as you possibly can, right?
Yeah, totally.
So earlier we showed you on the career page your Black Ops player card. Let's jump to the Elite summary really quick. So this is your life in Call of Duty Elite. You'll have access to every time that you post in a group and people, post back in that group. You'll get notifications. These are full friends list across, 360, Facebook, etc. So everybody that you know playing Call of Duty, everything that's going on in Call of Duty Elite, you get right there on your Elite summary.
That's super cool.
So again, Call of Duty Elite, career, connect, compete, and improve.
Right on.
That's Call of Duty Elite.
And that is free online for everybody. Where do they go to get a hold of this thing?
Where do they go? They can go and they can register. I believe our beta is open. People are just jumping right over to it right now, and they're just signing up to. I think we have over 2 million people right now who are dying to get in. We're going to be rolling the beta and letting people in as we go. Any
URL you want to throw out there just so they know where to go?
Oh, I have to ask my PR guy.
Right.
Where's PR guy? PR guy's gone. I don't know.
COD.com/elite.
Oh, what's that again, Robert?
CallofDuty.com/elite.
CallofDuty.com/elite.
All right, one more time since the camera just switched.
CallofDuty.com/elite.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming by.
Absolutely.
Thanks to our driver back there taking us through the site. And so you heard it there, folks. You want to get your chance to get a hold of Call of Duty Elite, you know where to go. And thank you so much for coming by, Jason.
Absolutely.
Really do
Anytime.
appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks.
much.
All right, we are back live on the spot, taking your questions over Twitter to @GameSpot, over email to onthespot@gamespot.com, and in the chat room, of course. And joining me here on stage, Tom Magrino.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Tom.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I got this hankering for news. Could you maybe help me out?
We got a little news for you. We got a little
News time.
breaking news for you.
Wow.
Are you ready for
Hot
this?
off the presses?
This is the NPD special, Thursdays, of course.
Excellent. Deliver.
Deliver.
Unto me.
June, super exciting. Sales were down again.
Sales were down.
Yeah, it was a slow June. Sales were down 10% overall. That includes PC, non-PC software. There's some hardware in the mix, but 1.03 billion for all of U.S. retail sales. That's just retail, mind you. NPD is a little goofy because they don't track, digital distribution.
Which I hear is catching on these days.
Right, this whole DLC craze.
Yeah.
Am I
Downloadable games, they
right.
have those.
So those actually make money, but NPD can't be bothered. So those were down. But, I don't know. Like, whenever I hear NPD numbers, I always take it with a grain of salt because digital sales are so big these days. It's really hard to measure.
It's down compared to last June, but what was at sort of the top of the charts here?
So software. If you're just looking at software, that was also down 10%. That came in at 508.9 million.
Okay.
But if you're looking at the top sales, Take-Two kind of cleaned up. They had LA Noire at the top.
Oh, all right.
That came out for the 360 PS3. And second place was Duke Nukem Forever.
Hail to the king, baby.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had an indication this game was going to sell at least reasonably well.
Did you see how many buses he was on? A lot.
Yeah, he was on a good number of buses.
Yeah.
But the game was not particularly an enjoyable experience.
Not what you'd call a good game.
I don't even know. I'm not in the review department. So
Reviewed poorly.
Reviewed
Very
poorly. But we did have some indication because Randy Pitchford went on his Twitter feed. He runs Gearbox, who published or made the game, at least completed the game, after decades. Literally decades. But he indicated that some people just like greasy cheeseburgers or something, and apparently they do. The Sony had the number 3 spot. They sent out a press release shortly before the NPD thing happened, saying that Infamous 2 was the top-selling SKU, which means if you're looking at like a single platform, then Infamous 2, it sold the most games
because you could only buy Infamous on the PS3.
Right.
Whereas if you look at an LA Noire, it's counting 360 and PS3.
Correct. And so the Infamous 2, it's
tricksy
it's a
language,
little spinny,
Sony.
But I mean, that's still probably sold pretty well.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And then the rest of the list, you've got a bunch of holdovers. Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, Caribbean.
Tomato, Tom.
Okay. Call of Duty Black Ops, NBA 2K11. Mortal Kombat, Cars 2, and Just Dance 2.
Show me Just okay, I was waiting for the dance
Just
one.
Dance 2. Yeah, that thing, Ubisoft struck gold with Just Dance 2. But the really interesting, well, the one that I find kind of interesting is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That was the 5th place seller for the month.
No kidding.
So, I mean, it's kind of interesting because, the 3DS, it doesn't have a super huge installed base at this point.
True.
And Nintendo has been saying this entire time, all right, once our exclusives come out, once our, our big franchises, our Zeldas, our Marios, and our, what have yous.
You're going to start seeing them.
You're going to start seeing these these software selling systems.
Okay.
So, this is the big first. Zelda is a huge franchise for Nintendo, of course.
Ocarina of Time, a legendary game remade in pretty vision.
Glorious 3D.
Great.
I don't know.
Great game.
I bought it. It was fun. I don't know. But so now that this game is out, we can really start to see if Nintendo can make good on this, or if their promise or what they say about what's holding 3DS sales back, if that's actually what's holding them back.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Nintendo has, gotten where they are today, largely in part due to their Mario,
built
their
on the
Zelda,
back
and
of
whatnot.
a poor plumber. Is basically
and
what
a
I'm
plucky young kid.
saying. And a plucky young, I don't know.
Is this the first 3DS game to crack the NPD top 10? Do we know?
I doubt it, just because Nintendogs is a huge, and I would be very surprised if that didn't. I can't. Don't hold me to that.
Okay.
I know I'm saying this on live TV, but don't hold me to that. But as far as like other hardware sales, NPD doesn't break it out anymore. But Microsoft is all too happy to tout their sales numbers when they come out. They were the #1 selling console again with 507,000 units, which is pretty good for a June.
Pretty good for year 6 or 7 of their console life cycle or whatever it is.
Right. I mean, we're well into this generation, and it's still selling, hundreds of thousands of units, which is they're not going to complain. And continued sales like this is bad for people who want a price cut or people who want new hardware, because Microsoft has no reason to cut the price.
You don't think they're already brewing something up?
Why would they? I mean, this is big numbers.
It's still making money. It's still
string together numerous months of big numbers.
All right, NPDs.
So that's the NPD.
Yeah.
You can find more on the site. Go check the site. It's great. We're gonna move on.
Okay. So next we
So
have
this happened, a little bit in the past, but this show happens on
Couple days ago.
Thursdays.
Earlier
it's been
this
a whole
week.
week since you saw me. Well, actually, it's been a while since you saw me. Anyway, EA bought PopCap for a large sum, $750 million.
so many millions of dollars. That's a lot of plants and zombies.
That's a good
and
many
jewels.
plants and zombies. So they said they're going to pay $650 million in cash, probably not in dollar bills, but and then an additional $100 million in stock.
They're gonna have to.
They're just like,
forklift
here
that
are
thing.
4 giant suitcases full of dollar bills.
That's a big suitcase.
It's many.
I have
big
no idea
suitcases.
how much
Yeah.
money that looks like.
This had been rumored for a while, and I don't even know. The thing about this is EA has been kind of on this spending spree for studios that fall in the casual or mobile or Facebook. They bought, the Angry Birds publisher. Chilingo, and then Playfish for like hundreds of $1 million.
So they're really thinking that this casual mobile thing has got legs. That seems to be.
Yeah,
the case.
they've just been spending a lot of money. This seems like an absurdly high commitment because they're paying $750 million up front, and then they have this performance-based additional compensation. So if
PopCap games still sell really well.
Yeah, if PopCap earns 343, if they bring in revenues of 343 million by the end of 2013, then EA is like, you know what, we'll give you another $550 million.
Wow. So
this total
another
purchase
2/3
price
of the purchase price again.
Yeah. This purchase price could get up to about 1.3 billion. But it's kind of interesting because if you think about if their target is 343 million for the next 2 years, then in 4 years' time, they'll have made 700 million. In 8 years' time, they'll have made about the purchase price. So, I mean,
Then what about in 12 years' time?
Yeah,
They'll be printing money.
It seems like they could have just
That's math.
folded that in half and put it in their pocket. obviously, I don't know math. Math is hard.
You're
But that
sitting here,
seems
you're
like
not up
bad
in the
math
EA
to me.
boardrooms, making
Yeah,
the purchasing decisions.
apparently
but
John
big news,
Riccitiello-
and so, I mean, what does this mean for PopCap Games? They're just going to still keep making games.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably see more Bejeweled and more Peggle and more Plants vs. Zombies. I think
Those games are great.
Yeah, they're good games. I think what you'll see is more Bejeweled, more Peggle, more Plants vs.
more.
Yeah, and you'll probably see, more resources thrown at these games to make them on more platforms and probably bigger. I guess PopCap now has more resources, and I'm sure they'll make new properties.
Okay.
They just have the EA label behind them, which grants them more distribution. It grants them a wider range of options.
So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for EA PopCap and what kind of new acronyms people can come up with to refer to them as.
You got any off the top?
No.
Of your head? No, me either.
I'm relying on you.
Give us some.
Submit them. Yes.
Give them to us. That's a new homework. But you won't get anything for that. So one last story. This happened today. If you own a 3DS, you can now watch Netflix on it.
I came in this morning to Justin Calvert and Ricardo Torres huddled over their 3DS.
Yeah, watching.
Viewing. Gosh, I cannot even remember what it was. Oh, yeah, it was Top Gear.
Top
Justin
Gear.
Calvert,
All right.
huge Top Gear fan.
Top Gear fan. So
Yep,
you
live
can
streaming it.
Thus far, you can only watch 2D movies with your 3DS, but apparently Netflix is planning on introducing 3D movies in some capacity. I don't know. Probably far. Well, I mean, there aren't that many 3D movies, but.
Well, I mean, you got the 3DS, and then you also have 3D televisions.
Right.
What else are they piping it to? That's
Right.
as that grows, it becomes more appealing for them to send those out
Yeah.
or to stream that kind of stuff, and hopefully they can work out the magic that
Right.
you need to display those things in 3D.
I have no idea. There's like a little slider, but whatever. So the thing about this also is that to get the app to play this on the 3DS, that's free. But you still owe Netflix, for your regular subscription, which is apparently up 60%. I don't know. There's been a lot of controversy lately.
If you've been on the internet, you know that Netflix, totally
you
bumped up.
you know that Netflix
They changed their pricing plan, and people are having to pay literally dollars more
dollars
to see all the movies and TV
Right.
they want from the Netflix catalog.
I don't know. I still think it's a good deal.
It is a good deal.
Yeah, but 60% is. I don't know. It's
You
a
and your
substantial
numbers,
hike.
Magrino.
I realize.
Get outta here.
Yeah, I realize that it's pennies basically, but it's the principle.
It's not.
I don't know.
You get out of here. All right, Tom.
So that's it for me.
Are we at the conclusion of news time?
That is it for me.
For more news.
Head on over to news.gamespot.com.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Tom Magrino.
No problem.
Now, folks, up next, we're going to take a look at digital downloads. Aaron Sampson has the latest for you to download digitally.
It'll happen.
Go.
Spotters, this is Aaron Sampson bringing you a list of top digital downloads this week on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, and Wii Shop Channel. New this week, on Wii Shop Channel, you will find a big ball of sad. On XBLA though, she's sassy and combustible, it's Miss Splosion Man for 800 Microsoft points. Reviewer Carolyn Pettit found this title to be great with thrilling, challenging level design, a lengthy single-player campaign, and a sweet, completely separate co-op campaign for up to 4 players. Next, grab your chainsword and a co-op partner and storm a ship. It's not Space Hulk, it's Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team for 800 Microsoft points. No, you won't be a Terminator with your armor saves that are so ridiculous they're redonkulous, but you will be battling orcs and Zerg. I mean Tyranids, who came before Zerg. Also new on XBL is Boulder Dash XL for 800 Microsoft points. This 80s revival title, Sans Hairbands, will challenge you to hoard diamonds while avoiding murderous rocks, dangerous fireflies, villainous butterflies, and deadly amoebas. Good God, people, can we stop with the 80s already? It wasn't that cool back then. Old but newly available this week, on XBL, global warming rocks when it comes to reshaping the Earth for motor vehicles. It's fuel for $24.99. We found this title to be fair, with hundreds of different challenges and career races, cool vistas, neat weather effects, and some clever courses. Ultimately though, Fuel is a big open world with too little to do. The races themselves lack thrills, and the AI doesn't play by the rules. On PSN this week, while you're waiting for Revelations to drop in November, you can keep your killing, leaping, and hay-napping skills sharp with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood for $39.99. Set directly after the events of Assassin's Creed 2, strike at the heart of the Templar Order with your own stable of people who are good at using the danger end of a sword. Also head online and enjoy hunting down fellow players while being hunted down by fellow players. We did to the tune of an 8.5 score. In game demos this week on XBL and PSN, do you abstract your fear of meaningful connection by pretending you're a lost sheep leaping over puzzle blocks? Well then, you may enjoy the Catherine demo. Walking in the boots of Vincent, players will struggle with the choice between marrying a longtime girlfriend Catherine with a K or spending time with Booty Call Catherine with a C. This is all somehow accomplished through puzzle platforming, and that's all we can say. Did I mention there's a demo? On PSN, next is the Pixel Junk Shooter 2 online battle demo, and unlike Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, there actually isn't much junk shooting. Pilot an interplanetary rescue ship and battle one-on-one, unlocking new weapons and abilities as you go. Following that is an undead demo that, unlike the upcoming regionally based zombie killer Dead Island, is more nationally based and says so in the title. Dead Nation is attempting to resurrect from November of last year when it raked in a good 7.5 for creating a dark atmosphere, sporting richly detailed environments, and arming players with a powerful and upgradable arsenal. The only question left is, once zombies take over the country, what will they vote for? I'm assuming getting rid of the CDC, but do they care about jobs and education? In new DLC this week, on XBL, Section 8 Prejudice adds the Frontier Colonies map pack for 320 Microsoft points. And on PSN, LA Noire gets Reefer Madness Man for $3.99. In game trailers this week, you may enjoy on XBL an Assassin's Creed Revelations trailer, the Summer of Arcade 2011 reveal trailer, and the Rise of Nightmare story trailer. On PSN, you'll be looking at the Asura's Wrath E3 2011 trailer, the Disney Universe announced trailer, and the Call for As the Cartel co-op edition trailer. That's all the time we have. Join us next week for our top picks of digital downloads.
That's this week in digital downloads, and now it is time for the baconing. Behold, we have bacon-related trivia that you've been ogling that we're going to talk more about, but before we get there, Mike Engelhart is joining me here in the chair. He's a producer on the baconing, and he's wearing a bacon tie. Mike, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I thought I'd dress up a little bit for
class
for
up
TV
the joint
today.
here.
Yeah.
We always appreciate attempts because we can't really do it all.
You don't get a chance to wear meat very often. So.
No, you got to seize those opportunities when you can. All right, the baconing, people have heard of bacon. But they have also heard of the protagonist of this game, and his name is?
Deathspank.
Deathspank. So Deathspank has had some downloadable adventures, and this is a new downloadable adventure for Deathspank.
Yeah, so the baconing is the next adventure that Deathspank's going to go on. We've called the game the baconing. It's the definitive Deathspank experience that we've created here. If you're a fan of the previous games, you're going to get everything you've come to expect in this series, plus a whole lot more. We've spoken to the community and gotten a lot of feedback. If you're new, if you sat on the fence and didn't really get a chance to play the first two, you don't have to go back and play those. It's not an episodic series. There's no chronological storyline. It's like the James Bond films. If you haven't seen GoldenEye, that's okay. You can jump into Casino Royale and just enjoy that and become a new James Bond fan. So jump into the baconing if you haven't had a chance. It's the one we want you to play.
All right, and now let's jump into the baconing here and
Sure.
you show us where we are at. This is some sort of command central, it looks like.
Yeah, this is Deathspank's throne room. So basically what he's done is he's put on all 6 thongs of virtue by mistake and actually created a very evil version of himself in the anti-Spank. And the city's kind of in ruins. This is Spanktopia. And the anti-Spank's army of cyborgs are basically wreaking havoc and attacking the city. What I'm showing off here is some of the gameplay improvements we've done to the game. We have a new shield bash, which essentially allows me to create space. You're facing a lot of enemies at once in the game. And so what we wanted to do was give the users some mechanics that allowed them to create some windows of opportunity to not simply just be surrounded by guys all the way through the battles.
And just sort of spin around flailing.
Exactly, yeah. It gets tiresome after a while. You can also use your crossbows and basically charge up attacks to land more powerful attacks through a risk-reward system. We spent a lot of time in pre-production really looking at the gameplay mechanics and tried to give the user a bigger set of tools so they can express themselves a bit more, not simply hack and slash their way through the experience. Just going to grab some grenades inside this handy treasure chest here.
That is a good idea. Now, for those folks who are not familiar with Deathspank's adventure, all this talk about thongs and bacon might have them scratching their head a little bit. You guys, the tone of this series is very lighthearted, very, you relish the humor.
Definitely, yeah.
And so the baconing is no different.
Yeah, I mean, Deathspank, it's a series that doesn't take itself too seriously. At Hothead, we're really kind of funny, comical guys. We like to have a lot of fun. A lot of games these days are very serious. They deal with real world topics. You don't go to the movie theater all the time to watch dramatic films. You like to laugh every now and then, and we feel that there's an opportunity in games to put some humor and put some laughter in there. And it's a very nonsensical series. Not every joke's going to appeal to everyone, but we try to make sure we cover all the gamuts and get something in there that's going to make everybody laugh.
Not everyone's going to sympathize with mistakenly putting on 6 thongs.
No,
but some of us do.
Yeah, I mean, we have
Homer,
a bad day.
for example, over there. Yep. Yeah. It's just a peril of some people's lives. All right, so here we are jumping out of the outhouse.
Unfortunately, I took a few too many attacks there and passed away, but came back in an outhouse.
You're going through a war-ravaged
Spanktopia. Yeah.
Okay. Did not want to miss
No
that
worries.
one. And so you're fighting these cyborgs. The cyborg dudes are going to be sort of the main enemy here.
Yeah, they fight alongside the anti-spank. They're kind of half orc and half cyborg. The game is actually more of a sci-fi inspired version this time around. So there's a lot of references to sort of pop culture sci-fi stuff. You'll notice the suit he's got on right now is Tron inspired suit. We've got references to Star Wars, the Jetsons. Actually, one of the coolest areas in the game is called the Forest of Tomorrow, which features sort of a Jetsons 50s sci-fi movement style of environments, where we've got the nuclear family and this really crazy creature named Muto, who is sort of an edible abomination with licorice for organs, and he's a bit of a mess.
And if you folks are wondering what Muto looks like, he's right here. You could have him on a t-shirt if you stay tuned to the end of the show to win trivia prizes. We got Muto t-shirts, we have bacon floss, and bacon lip balm. I've been asking people who've come on the show, Tom Magrino and Vander earlier, the preference has seemed to have been for the bacon lip balm. What about you? Floss or lip balm? You had to choose one.
I would probably choose a lip balm. It'll last a bit longer. I can, lick my lips, reapply it. They get dry, I do it again and again and again. It's kind of a bad cycle, but seems to be the gift that keeps on giving.
But
if
it tastes like bacon,
one of the two.
and according to this tube, everything should taste like bacon. All right, so Deathspank is continuing his adventures, and now in previous Deathspank games, you could have a little buddy coming along with him, a little kooky wizard, and can you play this game co-op as well?
Yeah, we still have the local co-op in the game. We reached out to the community and did a Name the Sidekick contest early in development, and the new character that joins the stable this year is Bob for Marketing. He's a hammerhead shark in a business suit, and he wields a swordfish in battle. Can go under the ground, has lasers in his eyes, kind of inspired from Austin Powers with the sharks with lasers. And he joins the likes of Tanko, Sparkles, and Steve. So there's 4 different unique co-op characters to choose in the game now.
4 different unique characters, but only 2 players co-op?
Yeah, 2 players locally at the same time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to clarify. So now, what's going on here?
Right here, these are our hero cards. So we spent some time revamping the hero cards. It was a system that existed in the previous 2 products. We took a look at them, and we wanted to create some more interesting gameplay choices so that users simply weren't making trivial decisions. So we've focused a lot of the cards around the new mechanics. I tend to choose Roisha's Reflection out of the box because I like to use the Shield Bash, which also can reflect projectiles back at enemies. So this card that I'm choosing now will increase the damage that will go on the projectiles when I send them back at the enemy who's fired it my way. And so you get those as you level up. There's 20 levels in the game. Our suits of armor, they go up with each level as well. So there's 20 different sets that you'll come across, again, with various references and tons and tons and tons of sci-fi content and different references that people will really enjoy.
Yeah, and you guys are big on the loot as well.
Yep. There's hundreds of weapons in the game. We've got 7 unique weapons of justice this time. The laser designator we're kind of showcasing here today. We also have the justice drill. We've got chainsaws in the game this year, digital hand saws, totally legal bat, which kind of plays off the problems baseball's had over the previous years.
It's totally, there's no cork in it at all.
So, we get a chance to really take some creative risks and do some different things, and, really invest ourselves and our passion into the game, and everything down to the items gets a little bit of love along the way.
Cool. Now, so Deathspank obviously meets strange characters in his explorations, and the baconing is no different.
No, it's no different. We got some really interesting characters. Some fans of the series will recognize some of the old old characters. They've come back for sort of another appearance. We have sort of homage. Godfather is a series that a lot of the guys in the office really enjoy. So we have an area called Rainbow's End, which is a Leprechaun Las Vegas run by the McMafia. And you meet the Godfather there. And actually, if you manage to do all the side quests for the Godfather, he makes you a made man. And we have sort of a little cinematic reward where we reenact some of the best scenes from the Godfather in terms of how they'd be realized in the DeathSpank world.
With Leprechaun McMafia.
With Leprechaun McMafia, yeah. So it's a bit of a twisted place.
That sounds like a good reward, I gotta say already. My mind is reeling with Michael Corleone as, a plucky little leprechaun fellow.
Well, you won't have a paper bag of oranges, but there might be a paper bag of four-leaf clovers in there along the way.
Fitting. Excellent.
So we'll just push through here. We spent a lot of time with the AI as well along the way, and we've improved the AI this year so that they attack more often. Our ranged enemies will now actually move in and around cover objects. We've placed those into the world as well to kind of give you an opportunity to seek refuge behind something and make your next sort of plan in terms of what you're going to do with your attack. We've also put in a bunch of interactive objects in the world which will essentially allow the user to manipulate the environment and get the upper hand on the enemies. So we really wanted to make more of a concerted effort to adding some tactics and strategy into the game and have the user more invested as they're playing the combat in between. And I think people will find that it's much more engaging. It's not going to be a cakewalk through the game. It's firm but fair. And we also offer 4 different skill levels to make sure there's something out there for everyone. When you actually beat the game, there is a new insane mode this year, which basically the only people able to work through it were the QA guys on the team. But some of the fans out there wanted something really hard, and we've brought that to the table this year as well.
So how was it this time around? You guys obviously have a very strong creative vision for this game and gameplay. Is it fun to sort of to what extent is it fun, challenging to try to actively work in community suggestions into the game?
You reach out, and I think when you talk to the community, they really appreciate the fact that you're listening. Obviously, Bob from marketing, the name of the game was also something that the community members picked. So we held a Name the Next Game contest, and the baconing was just something that wrapped around our story, no pun intended, quite well. And so we use that in the game. And I think as long as you're listening and you take things into consideration and having a chance like this to explain to people what we've put into the game, the fans are the ones that are buying the game. They're the ones that are helping us do what we do for a living. So we incorporate what makes sense, but I think the biggest thing is that we're listening. And when you listen, I think that counts for a lot at the end of the day.
Excellent. Now, speaking of community, our community has been asking, one, where did you get that tie?
This tie actually was our marketing director, Oliver Birch, ordered it and advised me to wear it today on set.
So possibly the internet, or you could get your hands on this very tie. Is that right?
We're actually, you know what we're going to do? Because I'll take it off later, but we'll put this with the prize pack, and someone's going to be able to get their hands on this beautiful, beautiful piece of meat tie.
On the beautiful bacon tie. And the other question folks are clamoring about in the chat room, when is the baconing coming out and on what platforms?
So platforms, we haven't made an official announcement yet, but you can sort of use your best guess and determine which sort of digital boxes will be coming to. We will be releasing on PC and Mac, we can say that. And as far as a final release date, right now we're in submission and we're going through sort of all the red tape that comes with that fun process.
Yes,
and the goal is to still be out in the summer. We don't have a defined date yet. We want to try to simul-ship all the platforms at the same time. But once we have that date, we'll let people know and they'll know when they can get their hands on it.
Mike Engelhardt, thank you so much for joining us, folks. That was your look at the baconing, and that's coming later this year if Mike has his way and then don't get caught up with strict bacon-related laws in the QA process. Next up, we've got a look at Driver San Francisco. Sean McInnes took a tour around the city, or Driver's version of the city, played some multiplayer to give you folks a look at that game and how the strange car-hopping mechanic works when you're not the only ghost in town.
Video preview.
You know those movies where 2 characters switch bodies, learn a life lesson, and then return back to their normal selves a better person? Driver San Francisco is kind of like that, only you're not really switching bodies with people to learn any sort of life lesson. You're just doing it to steal cars, like constantly, one after the other. It's called shifting, and it's pretty much the core of this game.
See, Driver San Francisco is a car-obsessed game that doesn't really care much about the constraints of reality. And it also happens to be one that takes place in a city famous for its amazing car chases. That recipe leads to some pretty crazy stuff, especially when you take the game online. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can shift into other cars on the fly in a competitive atmosphere. First up, there's a game mode called Tag, where one player starts by being it and tries to race off without getting smashed into by a rival player. When you do get smashed, the other guy becomes it. The longer you stay it, the more points you get, and thus better your chances of winning. Problem is, every other player besides the one who's it can shift into any car on the road, meaning you might be driving along only to see a car in an oncoming lane suddenly turn into your opponent out of nowhere, who then proceeds to swerve into you like a maniac. That's Tag in a nutshell. It's absolute chaos. Absolute chaos, but in a good way. Next up is Takedown, similar to Tag, but with sort of a cops and robbers feel to it. One guy starts out as the robber while everyone else, driving cop cars, tries to smash into him until his health bar just can't take it anymore. As a cop, you're working with your buddies to take the guy down, but you're also selfishly trying to inflict the most damage as you can. It's like you're a real-life traffic cop, but instead of being reprimanded for collateral damage, you're rewarded in spades. Next we have Trailblazer, where you and your competition are trying to follow an AI-operated car. It's basically got magical pixie dust spewing out of the exhaust pipe, so you're constantly jostling with your opponents to stay in that trail of magical pixie dust in order to get as many points as possible. Once again, shifting and smashing are big themes here, as any car that gets nudged out of the trail is always trying to shift into a car up the road to get revenge on his opponents. Finally, there's a couple straightforward race modes called Sprint GP and Classic Race. Sprint GP puts you and your opponents in a series of short technical sprint races in different sections of San Francisco, while the Classic Race is exactly what you think it is. The twist, or lack thereof, is that you can't shift cars in these two race modes, so you're gonna have to put your honest-to-goodness driving skills to the test. You can still feel free to smash into other people though. Smash all you want. And that's Driver San Francisco, a slightly batty game that actively encourages you to drive like a maniac and use bizarre, otherworldly powers to enhance that craziness. You'll be able to join in on the craziness yourself when Driver San Francisco is released next month.
Hey folks. We're back with the last live of the game demo of the day, and this time we brought in one of our own, GameSpot's own Sean McGinnis. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Chris. I tried to tie the bacon tie, but
did you even really try? Look
I
at
can
that.
tie a real tie, but when it's made of meat, it's substantially more
I
difficult.
really don't believe you.
This is made of actual meat.
Yes, and it's staining your shirt. Stop breathing on that. We're giving that to somebody. Sean, you're here. You got a PlayStation 3 controller.
I've got a PS3 controller.
Instead of mouthing a tie, you're going to be playing a video game.
I'm going to be playing Resistance 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
You want to do it?
Yeah. No,
All
you
right.
do it, and
Okay.
then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Start it up.
And commence resistancing.
Okay, here we are in America.
This
Not
is
looking so
America.
good.
This is Haven, Oklahoma, circa, I think, 1957 or so. And so the gist of, holy heck, that is a lot of Chimera. I'm going to throw my bean can shrapnel grenade at them.
Really?
Because that is what, you don't know, yeah. Well, it's made out of a can. I think
Wow,
it's
that
made
dude's
out of
up in
bean
your face.
cans. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
now he's not.
hell of
Now
up
he's
in my
dead.
face.
Nice work.
So, yeah, Resistance 3, new protagonist, and a new setting. It's kind of a new atmosphere and tone as well. It's a lot more bleak and grim than previous games, because you're not like this dude who belongs to the super elite military force. You're a guy who lives in Oklahoma.
And is like, oh my god, why
And
are
it's
horrible
like, and it's
aliens
grim
killing
because
me?
it's like, man, I live in Oklahoma.
What's wrong with Oklahoma, Sean?
And
Nothing.
then from right there.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
you like that?
Yes, the Magnum is back.
Yes, because in typical Resistance fashion, every weapon in the game has
You got him
an
right,
alternate fire, including the Explodo rounds. I like to shoot the
Oh, it's
leg,
on his leg.
and then blow the leg off.
Oh, there it
Did
goes.
you see that? I blew that dude's
man,
leg
is
off.
this age-gated? That's an alien leg. It's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, the Magnum shoots like the bullets are basically remote detonated mines as well.
Essentially, yeah.
And that's one of the Resistance hallmarks is guns with dual fire.
Yeah, and that's all here. One of the things that's making a return is the weapon wheel. I've only got 2 weapons right now because this is very early in the game.
Yep.
But you can imagine later in the game when you've got like 7 or 8 weapons at once, it gives you a lot of room to get very creative.
So that's closer to what Resistance
1
Retribution did on PSP or what Resistance 1 did.
Yeah. And another change from Resistance 2 is that there's no regenerating health. It's a pretty traditional health bar, or wheel in this case, which means you actually have to go around finding health pickups, which can make some of the shootouts pretty tense.
Because you can't just hide behind an old beat-up tractor until your health comes back.
Right, exactly. And one of the
things... Do you like
things,
that in the game? Do you like the...
It depends on the game. Depends on what sort of style it's going for. Like regenerating health totally works in a fast-paced shooter like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But this is a game that's all about like bleakness and atmosphere. And so I think
and
the
like
finite
desperation
health,
because
and desperation,
the fight against the Chimera is not really one that humanity is winning.
No, you kind of get the sense that the battle is pretty close to being over and humanity is on its last legs.
Oh man.
And so things are just not looking hot. So it kind of fits with the tone.
Yeah.
Of the game.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the very beginning of the game, Haven, Oklahoma, but the game is sort of a road trip story. You're trying to make your way to New York, where the Chimera have sort of established their nerve center. I'm going to blow off this guy's leg, because it's fun.
Yes, please.
And
there's
why
2 of
not?
them.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Oh.
Sometimes,
wow.
sometimes they die if you shoot them correctly with the... Hey, buddy, you want that leg? No, you don't.
Oh,
it didn't fall off of him. That's okay.
Is there any way
I'm not sure if he's dead or not, so... Yeah, he's dead now.
What?
Yeah, he's dead. Wait, no, he might come back to life with that arm. I'm gonna shoot it off. There we go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're like just taking that apart.
Yeah, the damage model in this game is super good. Like, you get one of those Rossmore shotguns later on, and you fire that thing at point blank, and I hope you have a strong stomach.
Because the limbs and the jibs are flying?
Limbs and jibs are just flying all over the place.
Nice. I like that.
I
can go for that.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah. All right, so you're on this road trip. What we've seen previously from Resistance, there was also like one of the first things they showed was a boat.
There's a boat.
Yeah.
So that's that comes a little bit after the section that we're seeing right here. That's that boat is sort of like it's on rails in the sense that you're not navigating the boat and you're just firing at Chimera within like 360 degrees around you in this flooded town.
Right.
But it kind of gives you another look at some of the devastation that the Chimera have inflicted on, on Earth, which is like the climate change that they've brought has like flooded this town. Yeah, so it's pretty brutal.
All right, Sean, we're going to the chat room.
Okay.
It's rapid fire question time. HitDog21 wants to know, are there any new enemy types so far?
There are new enemy types so far. You kind of start off, actually one of the new enemy types, I don't know if we're going to see them here, they're called long legs, and they're basically Chimera that jump all around. Basically like grasshoppers.
Ew.
They jump like 50 feet into the air, and they do it pretty rapidly. So
it's okay when grasshoppers do that because they're grasshoppers.
Yeah,
they're
right.
Small.
Yeah.
Not trying to kill me.
So one of the strategies that you use for that guy is the bullseye here, which is sort of your default assault rifle.
Yeah.
The alternate fire, it'll tag an enemy with bullets, and then no matter where they move, your primary fire will follow them like magic. Like it was magnetized to that enemy.
That's a fun Resistance classic. Oh, I recognize that big guy up there.
Oh,
Let's take a
yeah.
look at him. Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
take a look at that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's fun. He's totally horrible. So do you like having lim_hack wants to know, you like having more weapons at your disposal? Do you like not having to do the 2
Absolutely,
weapons
yeah.
thing?
Because later on in the game, there's different weapons that work best on certain enemies. So being able to pick and choose from a pretty big arsenal is a lot of fun. And I mean, you saw when I was just sort of taunting that Chimera by shooting his leg with the Magnum.
Yes.
It's fun just being a jerk and using. Oh, this is sad. This is a dead lady on the ground.
Oh.
It's a very bleak, grim atmosphere, which you know, we're kind of like, you know, having some fun right now because it's live and why not? But you play this game start to finish and the atmosphere is incredible.
And it's
really, really well done. I had an absolute blast with this game.
That was, you know, that Resistance 2 showed America in similar state of disarray, but what the atmosphere didn't harp too much on the fact that it was so bleak.
Right, exactly. And that's something that you see here. Like early on when you're in your safe house, you kind of pass by some of your fellow refugees who have survived the Chimera onslaught, and they're standing around with like missing limbs and like burn scars and stuff. It's like,
that dude is
get away! I'm gonna
punch him in all of his teeth.
You like that, buddy?
That was so you just punched him to death.
I did. I punched him to
Nice
death
work.
because I'm a baller. I'm Joseph Capelli, former Sentinel, dishonorably discharged.
Oh yeah.
So I've got,
That's
you know,
a
I've
familiar
got some
name
skills.
for-
I've got some military
Aim
history.
somewhere else.
You like that?
Still going there. You can't get away.
Secondary fire.
Sucker.
Do that to this guy. Boom! You like me arcing these bullets at you until you die?
That's like the rainbow shot.
The rainbow
Giving
shot.
it so much arc that it doesn't even really make sense.
Here's another Resistance classic, the Auger, a gun that lets you shoot through surfaces.
Oh,
boom, boom, boom! You're dead now. Like that?
That's good. Any new weapons you've come
Yeah,
across?
there are some new weapons. One of the ones that I liked a lot is this gun called the Atomizer, which is this sort of like short-range riot control gun that uses electricity.
Ooh.
And it's really cool because in the level where I first started using it, it's like you're in this dark, pitch-black cellar and you can barely see anything in front of you, except for when you fire that gun, at which point like the cellar lights up in this really creepy blue light, and it's kind of scary, but also really fun. And
Kind of scary, but also really fun. You heard it here. All right, we got a question from the chat room about 6-axis support. Have you seen any wiggle light, any motion stuff yet?
No, I haven't. But I believe this is one of the game. This game does have move support.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they saying like, you know, hey, the sharpshooter, check that thing out?
Oh yeah, I believe it does support. In fact, I think there might be a bundle coming out. I'm not sure. I might be completely lying about that. But there might also be a sharpshooter.
One of their
bundle.
big flagship shooter franchises.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this game is. I've just had an absolute blast with it. It's really well done.
Now, do you know if there's a demo coming down the pipe for this thing?
There's going to be a beta. There's going to be a beta actually.
Okay.
Multiplayer beta within a few weeks, I believe.
All right, so keep an eye out for that multiplayer beta on PlayStation 3. And do we know when Resistance 3 is coming out?
Resistance 3, I believe, is coming out this September.
September. That's not next month, but the month after.
That is true.
That's
so
pretty close.
Pretty close.
I like that. Sean, thanks for showing this off.
Watch me shoot this cock. Boom!
Yes, I will. It's not going boom. You
Yeah,
just
you're right.
blew up.
I
You
lied
grenaded
because we
yourself or
switched
something.
cameras and nobody knows that I'm lying.
Oh, except I totally. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Stick around because Sean and I will be giving away Mountain of Trivia, and you'll be finding out what's in this Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows box.
Ooh.
It's big. It's not very. You'll find out. But before we do that, we got a starting block to help you kill insects better and more efficiently. Tom McShay has got the good word on Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon.
The bugs are attacking Earth, and it's up to you to eradicate them. Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon is a fairly straightforward shooter, but things can be a little trickier in the early going if you're not sure what you're doing. We're here to make sure your entry is as painless as possible, so you can start squashing those creepy crawlies right away. The first thing you need to do is choose a soldier class. Jet can fly, Battle is incredibly strong, Tactical can drop turrets, and Trooper is the jack of all trades. Each class has access to different weapons and level up independently. So once you pick one, it's wise to stick with them all the way through so you have access to all the best weapons possible. Next, you have to make sure you have a good loadout. You can only carry 2 weapons at a time, and you can't switch mid-level. An explosive weapon is a must. A rocket, grenade, or missile launcher can make short work of even the toughest enemies, and you don't have to worry about precise aiming with the huge blast radius. Finally, don't be afraid to knock over buildings. In fact, you should destroy as many as possible.
bugs and UFOs can appear out of the blue if you're surrounded by skyscrapers. So topple everything to the ground so you have a wide, flat plain to do battle in. Now you're ready to vanquish the alien menace once and for all.
Well done, Lightning. Hector destroyed.
Amazing.
Are you done now?
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
I played a little bit more during the break there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
still.
It was sobering, to say the least. But on a lighter note, we got bacon-related trivia prizes. One is around Sean's neck. One was previously mentioned, lip balm, floss, and also this shirt with Muto on it. Yeah, check that guy out. And on the back, the baconing. We have two of these that are large and medium. So, when you answer this question, tell us which item you would prefer. Medium shirt, large shirt, floss, balm, tie. And the question is this. Which Canadian starred in the movie Canadian Bacon?
Oh, I know.
Do you, Sean?
I'm not going to say, though.
Good, because it's not for you. Just your time with the tie is brief.
What?
Yeah, it's coming to an end shortly.
That's fine. I
We're
can't
sending
tie
it
it
off
anyways.
to whoever requests that in the winner circle. All right, Sean.
Yes.
Show us what's inside the box.
All right, time to take a look at what is inside the box. First of all, you get a sweet lid.
Yep.
You get a copy of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows 2 for the Xbox Entertainment System. You also get Harry Potter Years 1 through 7 Part 1 7-disc DVD set.
That's a lot of movies.
That is literally tens of hours.
Yeah.
Ones of hours.
I think that's probably gets over tens of hours.
Including
7
special
movies
special features, that's tens of hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of DVDs.
That is an amount of Harry Potter.
Sean, you
oh,
missed an item.
shoot. You also get a beaten stick for beating people with.
We call that the Elder Wand.
Is it?
Sean?
I'll be honest.
Replica.
I didn't read all those books.
Yeah, we've talked about your reading on the show before, and let's just say we won't revisit it. So if you want to earn this Harry Potter trove of those things Sean just showed you, answer this question. What is the name of the tabloid Luna Lovegood's father publishes? And if you're not quite sure about that, listen to this week's Hotspot with me, Brendan, Caro, and Kevin, and you'll be able to find out what Kevin thought it was and then what I corrected him to say that
Did you
it
tell
actually
people
was.
how to send in their answers?
Sean, how do they do that?
You send an email to onthespot@gamespot.com or use the little answer trivia module on the page to our side. I forget which.
It's going to probably be on the right for them watching on the internet. Super! That's trivia, so that's how you get those prizes. You can win them, and that will be delightful. Now, folks, we're at the end of the show, but this is when we talk about what's happening next week. Sean, me, and a whole bunch of GameSpot folks are going to San Diego because it's Comic-Con, and we are going to be there from Wednesday through Sunday, bringing you coverage live every day. And if you're going to be there, you can meet up with us, and Jody and Cynthia are hosting a community meetup for GameSpot in San Diego at 5th and Harbor. It's Friday night at 5. All the details are, I will tell you where they are in a second. But come to this meetup, hang out with GameSpot editors, play games, win prizes, do trivia, watch Jody tape a live episode of Sync. There's going to be food, there's going to be drinks, there might even be Sean McInnes.
You can win Chris Waters. He's actually one of the prizes.
Well, we haven't worked out that
You
negotiating
can
yet.
win Chris Waters. Go home.
So if you want a
Chris Waters
shot at
back
that, Friday night, 5 p.m., check our Facebook page or the Community Hub. Go to the forums and look on the right side for the Spotlight, Community Spotlight blog. It's got all the information, and we'll look forward to seeing you folks there. And actually, we were just talking about this earlier. We might be filming some GameSpot content there that you could be in.
Ooh,
so come on down. It'll be really fun if you're there. Now, for everyone here in the GameSpot studios, I'm your host, Chris Waters, and that's Sean McInnes. We were happy to have you with us today, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week at San Diego Comic-Con. Have a great weekend, folks.